Got it. Noir.
I mean, you're a filmmaker, darling. You've
Love
got
it.
to do the black and
Yeah,
white. Ah,
old Hollywood. We'll go the water way. I love it.
well, for me,
And
literally old
good.
Hollywood.
Then my cat's fed and my other cat's
Beautiful.
toy, and it blends in fine.
How long have you been working on that film, 1946, the movie?
So I've been working on 1946 for 4 years. For me, I started the summer of 2018.
Mm,
And it was during that time when I basically was just trying to find affirming ground with my non-affirming parents to try to have a conversation with them to see me as a real person, and the only way to do that is through scripture. And so through my own journey, I was like, I'm going to make a documentary about this. And I was looking at other verses when I first learned of Kathy Bullock's work.
mhm.
And so it was October of 2018 when, after I learned of her just a couple weeks prior, she was speaking, my parents were coming into town, and I just literally just put a film crew together and just got into the room. And that's when I learned for the first time in real life about the 1946 mistranslation. And that's what sparked me to really quit my job and invest everything and move around and get into, like, I'm living in a room in Reseda right now to get back to California after I left for a couple years,
Wow.
uprooting my life to tell this story, because that gave me, really, as someone with my own journey trying to heal my own family, gave me a tangible evidence to have a broader conversation to then say, okay, this is what the documentary is about. This is important. And that was the hook, and it's a really good hook. And I think it's really important because it affords us the opportunity to then really get into the heart of it and really get into these conversations to break down these chains of oppression caused by scripture that impacts, obviously, not only the Christian community,
No.
but many communities. So yeah, that's how it started in LA. I'm glad to be back now, to be honest with you. And I'm hoping to rebuild my life and hoping to get the movie distributed, and maybe I can do another film
Yeah. Well,
and get paid for it this time and that kind of stuff. And
well, congratulations, because it really, you really, I'm so surprised on how much you were able to capture,
thank you.
like the family stuff was so intimate and upsetting. And just the fact that you brought the film into the moment where now, because of social media, you see just how affected the gay community is, like, by Christianity. I mean, I've been around for feels like centuries, and it isn't until these past few years that religion has seems to be so much, because I guess I'm not, dictated by scripture, or never was, but that I feel like it's everywhere, and you can't not make a left or a right turn without being confronted by someone that's anti-gay. And I mean, I thought, I was like marching for gay rights back in New York City in the 70s. That's where I go. And
Right.
we're between Roe v. Wade and this past week with it just feels like I don't even feel like I'm on the same planet that I was 5 years, 6 years, 7 years ago, before all of this came about. So your film affects me in a different way than it's going to be people who were raised with Christianity and having parents that didn't accept them. I didn't have that journey, but I'm having my own reaction to what clearly must have been really intense, which you show so perfectly in the film. So
Thank you.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't
I mean, it
know.
was important for people. Go on.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I
No,
mean,
go
no,
ahead.
I can't imagine. I couldn't do a film like that based on the religion of Judaism, because I wasn't, even though we kind of started out Orthodox, and I was sent to like a parochial religious yeshiva thing, but I was already so much of a liberal, my story is that my parents survived the Holocaust. So from 3 years on, I've been listening to stories of actual what happened. So I've been like disassociated with it. So even being in, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like I may have been in the yeshiva physically, but mentally I was never there. So I never let my religion affect me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just funny. I was going to say one thing has nothing to do with this film or this, but today I was going into the gym and the guy that works there was saying, yeah, it's something about he wish he wasn't there. I'm like, well, you don't have to be there. You can physically be here, but mentally you don't have to be there. I was trying to explain to him that, we do have an opportunity to separate our mind from our reality if it is bothering you. You know what I mean? If what you're doing, if you're in an oppressive relationship, or if you're in an oppressive environment, and in the case of your parents, I mean, I can't imagine and the fact that you still love each other and that you think you're similar when you seem to be
Well,
such
that's
a
what
good
Sal said. No, I'm
person.
just kidding.
No, you seem to be like such a good person, wanting to take them and inch them along. I mean, I give you credit.
Thank you. It's tough, but I know so many people struggle with this, which is
Mm,
why again I was on my own journey just to find a way to talk with them. But someone like Ed in the film really took biblical inerrancy to heart, and to a point where he almost took his life. And these
right.
are real issues. And so what I was going to say earlier is it was important to take the audience on this journey of these real characters who grew
Right.
up in this real experience. It's not a Christian film trying to push a Christian propaganda.
Oh,
It's not a LGBTQ film trying to push a gay rights agenda. It is a real relational film about a real group of people that suffered under this oppression of weaponization of scripture. And we can pinpoint a time in history where it amplified. And so one of the other things I like to say about the film, people always tease me, all the comments, whatever, all over on different social medias, or even just people in real life will be like, come on, homophobia has always existed. This has been something we've been struggling with for a very long time. And I think our rabbi actually does a really good point of pulling that out in the film. Like there are other themes going on here, but for us in the film, obviously like patriarchy and homophobia and misogyny have always played into our society. But what
right.
the film does is it shows us when the Bible became a weapon against the LGBTQ community and how it amplified, and then how the moral majority, used it as a political tool. And
Yeah.
so that's really what the film is about, focusing on the thesis of the mistranslation, the tangible mistranslation,
No, no,
and
no.
then,
It's the inciting moment.
yeah, making
That's
it
critical
real.
for filmmaking. It's like,
Yeah,
it's the moment, and you explain it, and you show the impact of it,
right.
and you show how it's real and human, and it's very kind of.
That's all our editor, honestly, and our writer too. Our writer Jenna Serbu, who we see in the beginning of the film, who's one of my best friends, and she's a producer, writer, and the film took on many forms of how do we really tell this story? What's the most important thing? Obviously academics, the thesis, the mistranslation, but beyond that, how does it really impact our lives? And the Rocky Sal characters, my dad and I, didn't really come to the forefront until later,
Right.
just because it was important to showcase that dichotomy, that butting of the heads. But what do you do with this? Like, you want to love your parents and they want to love me. So I just happen to have that kind of relationship with my parents, or unfortunately there's so many other kids who grew up in religion whose parents have thrown them out.
Yeah.
So hopefully, as much as it's hard to watch some of our scenes, sometimes I've heard from the audience, or I've heard a lot of different things with it. Hopefully it'll show parents how to just try to love their child, and maybe then again get us to a place where we're having bigger conversations. That's the little crack that I hope the film can do in our society.
Well, I just think that what's the most important element of it, it's in the title, it's identifying the moment where you can really. I mean, I've become so angered over everything that we're in now, like the politics we're in, the anti-Semitism, the racism, the homophobia, the fact that it's in this ball right now, constantly being. I feel like we're playing. Do you ever play, that game where people stand in a circle and you're in the middle and you're trying not to get hit with the ball.
Oh yeah,
What's that game? I've got a food.
I know what you're talking about.
Football.
I was born in the 70s, late 70s, so I remember that game of the schoolyard.
You know, and I feel like we're forever dodging, like the gay and Jewish here is like double whammy. At least, you know, at least if you're Christian, the Christians won't bother you for anything but just being gay. You know what I mean? So you get like,
Right.
you're set, you're let halfway saved. It's just too much. But I think,
Yeah, I agree.
but I think that the 1946 of it all is something that, you know, I don't know if you're doing panels with groups and, you know, because I think that should be like an opportunity to bring people together to kind of fight off that Christianity crazy. Coincidentally enough, I just found, I don't know how, I've started getting emails from this thing called churchleaders.com. It's
Okay.
unbelievable. It's like so random why I'm getting it. And I've been posting about some of these articles I get, but it's like, yeah, I mean, people need to know about what that this was not a thing from thousands of years ago.
Right.
Outer than I think you've struck a moment that can be used going forward, is what I
Thank
say.
you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to watch the movie and, and taking the time to meet me. I'm interested in learning more about your project. I did watch your trailer. I think it looks fantastic. It looks like you've made great progress as well. You filmed a
I've
lot.
made great progress, and then we went into lockdown, and then everything
Yeah.
that was supposed to get filmed had to get canceled, and the funding went at that moment as well. And now
Yep.
I'm just picking up the pieces, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out how best to do it. This story is a little different because
Yeah.
the initial thing was this piece of music appeared out of nowhere. So from the ashes of the Holocaust comes this little piece of music that became the main character of the story. So rather
Yeah.
it being my journey of discovery, even though it sort of is, but I wanted to, whether I'm right or wrong, I think ultimately potentially wrong, but I wanted it to be about this piece of music being on the hero's journey, being discovered, being interpreted by different artists, bringing it
Yeah.
to a place where it's recognized, giving my uncle a name, a face, not being one of the 6 million anonymous Jews. It all comes from a beautiful place. And that is
Yeah.
and that's my heart and soul in this project, and
I
wanting
love that.
and not wanting it to only be about a Holocaust story, but to
Right.
instantly say whether it's the concentration camp, the cotton fields, or the inner city streets, music is what people use and need and devour if there's no food. You know what I mean? So that was the initial thing. Now, as I go back out there, like what I still want to do is I still want to finish my personal journey with this piece of music, me like, on a leash, taking it along. I want to go back to where my uncle was in the ghetto doing the orchestra. That theater I hear is still
Oh,
there. So I
wow.
want to just be in that space. And then I want to take it back to the camp where he actually wrote it and have like a viola or a violin just play it and bring it back. And that's the whole arc of the story. And then goodbye.
Yeah.
The thing is, I feel what has happened since with this resurgence of anti-Semitism and this whole refusal to talk about the Holocaust and refusal to talk about, our history with the indigenous people and with not willing to teach about slavery. And I really feel like it goes back to that moment where it's not, we are, the fact is we're all immigrants, right? Here in this country, no one
Sure.
is from here unless you're an indigenous person. Other
Okay.
than that, no, period, end.
Right.
So I feel like part of the story is less about just this piece of music. I want the music is almost, see, I don't think I need to rethink it. And that's why everything happens on a reason, so whatever. But I think the
Sure.
music is the opportunity to bring people together to tell their stories, so that my uncle's story is one of them. Because
Right.
to do a long only Holocaust film is like, it's not a big audience. And
Yeah.
and I'm on a path of finding that. I do have a first look deal with a streamer on it, but they don't
Great.
think it's ready. So I'm still like regurgitating, you know what I mean? Um,
So they would buy it from you, or they would help you produce it, you know? Oh, they were
They
first
haven't been clear. In the
Yeah.
process, I did get a deal on another documentary with them, which is I'm not allowed to release it. In a week, I'll be able to talk about it, which I
That's
will, because
awesome.
it's NDA. But it's awesome, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for COVID lockdown, because that's when I was home and I went on a journey and I did research and whatever.
Yeah.
So I put my uncle thing aside, did whatever, have hooked up with a major. It's so unbelievable that it's like until I actually see it on television and cash a check,
Yeah.
I'll believe it then.
Yeah.
But in the meanwhile, it's all like, yeah. But signed contract, whatever. We
That's
hired a
great.
director, we hired a
Love
music
that.
supervisor, so that's happening.
I'm so
And
jealous.
I'll tell you
Just kidding.
everything when I can. But it's
I
but
did mine
again,
totally different.
again, that and a cup of coffee is like what I'm still scrambling for the pennies. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Which you know what? I was never a filmmaker. I'm doing this late. I found this late in life. You know, I was
I
on.
never thought I'd make a documentary, let alone about the Bible. You know what I mean? Like this
Right,
all fell into my lap, like literally.
right.
And then my friends that I show in the beginning of the movie, we're all filmmakers and we all do different things, you know, and it's just like, hey guys, will you help me? Like, you know, I'm bleeding money. I started investing money, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, and they were so kind. My friends are awesome.
No,
So
everyone that's involved so far that has been done anything have been
yeah,
extraordinary. Some people that have to get paid, you figure out a way to do it. The other, they would just want to do it because there's this sensitivity to what the project is, you know, giving someone a legacy. I mean, not, which is another thing, like how finding your what is our legacy? I mean, you now have something you're leaving behind on earth. I think that's what's a really awesome thing to do, which is why, you know, it would be great if the film is able to kind of group people together to want to really speak out about the fact that that was the moment, you know. It's like here, you know, it's like if we go, you know how like a gay pride events where they have those freedom of speech lunatics, you know what I mean? That are standing there making you very, you know,
Ruben
it's
Israel
almost,
is one of them. He's Southern California based.
yeah.
Ruben Israel is
It's
one of them.
almost
Yeah.
like you want this moment to be like throw that back in their face. You know what I mean? It's almost like you could probably get booked on a lot of these Christian conversations. You know what I mean? There's like a whole way that I think you can
Yeah.
keep the conversation alive as long as you want to anyway,
Yeah.
until your next thing that you decide
We're
to
going to
do.
do an impact campaign. We're working right now. So we're at Palm Springs Film Festival in January, which is huge for us. And it's a very big Academy member attended
Yeah.
festival. It's going to put us in a different light. It's going to, you know, we already have major sales agents looking at the film. People have liked the film, but they've taken a pass. Now that we won the audience award at Doc NYC and we're the most viewed film, and our audience is polling back saying that they would rewatch the movie even if they purchased a ticket at Doc NYC, you know, like with the popularity in the press, we're going back to the sales agents and back hoping that we did pay a publicist for Doc NYC. They're going to help us try to get an industry review, you know, and hopefully with these steps we can get that sales agent we need for distribution. You know, we are getting invited to major festivals too. I mean, it'll happen, but once we partner, the goal is to partner with a network so that they can help obviously to, I mean, we still have like insurance to pay for, some licensing fees that we license temporarily, but Fox is going to relicense us and it's not cheap, you know, like that kind of stuff. But then also marketing so that we can get people to just see it faster kind of thing. So I would like to get a distribution deal and then work within that with our lawyer to make sure that we can still go to education centers, still
Right.
go and do talks. We can go to community centers, churches, synagogues, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, definitely.
But I
Um,
do want to say really quickly before going
yeah,
back to
sure.
your film, I do want to commend you for what you're doing. I think that it's perfect. I think that you're on the right path with taking your, from my just my 2 cents from watching the trailer. That was my favorite part of the story, when you start seeing it coming alive through other people and you see the excitement in your eyes, and then you can see it going out into the community, you know, and then you can see how music really does impact our reality. But that one small core center of how your uncle was able to just smuggle out the instruments and take everything and like you keep those little keep that little piece of himself. Like, that's the magic. I just love it so much. I think that you really have something special there.